Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to another Elestrals video. Today we are starting the Frostfall deck profiles. It's been a freaking while coming. I've been mostly procrastinating. This is now the third deck profile that I've actually recorded. And then I was going to upload the Fire deck profile yesterday, and then Sparkitt got banned, so that's what I went ahead and did that, and now I feel like I'm obligated to do a Thunder Nexus deck profile today without Sparkitt. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. No Sparkitt is in this deck because Sparkitt is being banned, and now 6 days. Actually, I think it might be a little bit less, 5 days. I guess if you're including today, 6. But it's being recorded July 31st. Hopefully it's uploaded July 31st. We'll see. But yeah, so Sparkitt's been banned. Thunder Nexus is a lot different than it used to be. We're going to get right into the deck profile. And I'll let you guys know sort of my thought process around a whole lot of this. I haven't actually tested this deck once yet without Sparkitt, but this is sort of what I feel like Thunder Nexus could look like. We'll see what actually ends up happening. I highly doubt Thunder Nexus is going to be like one of the best decks in the format anymore. It's not going to be nearly as dominant as it once was, as I said yesterday in the Sparkitt video. But we're going to get straight on into this. Let's get into the profile. So, start things off with the Elestrals. We are going to be playing 3 copies of Astrabbit. Obviously, I mean, Astrabbit's still a crazy, crazy good card in this deck. Just able to excavate top 3, not even really excavate, but look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add one into your hand, shuffle the rest into the deck. It's really, really crazy. 5 defense, crazy body to have. Without Sparkitt, a little bit worse because it's not as consistent to Nexus onto it, but you can still make some plays. Obviously, we are playing also triple Elechic, so we can get to our copy of Zeus as fast as we possibly can. And then for the remaining Elestrals, we are playing 2 copies of Toxion. I still think 2 is totally fine. I feel like for the most part in this deck, you are just trying to basically stall out time, and Toxion's a really good card for late game. But for the most part, I feel like the entire goal now of Thunder Nexus is nexusing onto the Astrabbit to constantly get a boatload of counter runes to just prevent your opponent from really ever being able to attack over any of your guys, have them expend all their resources, and then have Toxion right there as a late game strategy. It is still possible to like get this card off multiple times, as you guys are going to see. We are playing a lot of Nexus cards, just none are Elestrals, as you guys will see. But we're also playing 2 copies of Jolton. I could have bumped this up to 3, but I felt like I was obligated to bump a couple other cards. I was also tempted to bump Toxion up to 3. I think if I were to bump any Elestral up to 3, it would be the Toxion. But I think 2 Jolton is totally fine. I see a lot of people running 3 Jolton and 2 of the Stadium Room. I personally don't really like that. I feel like if you want to have full stadium control, it's better to have the 3rd Stadium Room just in case it comes up, because if your opponent doesn't have any more Stadium Rooms, if they are only playing the 2 Stadium Rooms and you have the 3rd, as long as you're able to deal with that 2nd Stadium Rune, then you're in a good spot to just have Stadium control the entire game. So that's really, really good. Lastly, for the Thunder Elestrals, we are playing 2 copies of Platypulse. I've been playing this card in this deck even before Sparkitt got banned. I really like this card in the deck. I think it's very, very neat. I only play 2 copies of it because it doesn't come up too often. I've been tempted to drop this card down to 1, but I do think at least 1 copy of this card in the deck is good, but I don't really think you need any more of that. It's a really, really nice card. For anyone who doesn't know, Platypulse is a card that came out in Frostfall. It says Elestrals that are not Thunder enchanted get -1 attack for each enchanting Thunder on your field, but this effect cannot reduce. Effects of Elestrals named Platypulse cannot reduce an Elestral's attack by more than -4 total. So basically, if you have multiple copies of this card in the field, it doesn't matter. You can only go -4 with this, but it does allow you to basically have a sort of Mount Olympus style effect, but in the opposite direction, where your opponent's Elestrals lose attack rather than your Elestrals gain attack. And if you pair this card with Mount Olympus, then you're just already off to a much better start. It's basically, assuming all your Elestrals just have 1 Thunder under it, then it's a swing of 5. So it's a swing of 5 attack, which honestly is not that bad. I really like Platypulse in this deck, so so that's why we're playing it. We're also playing 2 copies of Lavalith. I think it's necessary for a lot of decks, especially decks that have a difficult time dealing with runes, which Thunder Nexus at times does have a decently difficult time of dealing with those runes. Lavalith is also a nice beater for a deck that currently lacks a beater. Obviously, when Daybreak releases, we will be receiving Arcolith, which is going to be really, really good for the deck, and we're probably going to be playing both Lavalith and Arcolith in the deck, just as an additional beater, so that's really, really nice. But that's all we have for Elestrals. Yes, it's 14 Elestrals. I personally feel like that's too low, but I don't hate it that much. That's going to be it for the Elestrals. We have 26 runes to go through, so let's go ahead and hop into it. So starting things off, we obviously have the triple copy of Zeus. Obviously had to pull out the stadium, what am I talking about? The statue, the stone statue Zeus. I really wish I had more of this card, but I actually really wish I pulled a single full art Zeus. I never once pulled a single full art Zeus, and I'm like upset about it because I really like full art Zeus. But Zeus, very, very important in this deck. It's a great way to just reduce your opponent's Celestial's attacks and get in for some decent damage. It's also a great Nexus bank for you to hold. We're also playing 3 copies of Mount Olympus. I really like the triple copy of Mount Olympus. I think it's very, very important. And it does so much. Obviously, if we have Mount Olympus at our side of the field, we can obviously use our Race to the Top to just blow up a guy, which is very, very powerful. Good removal for Thunder, and I just think it's really, really powerful. Now, I talked about this in my last video, which was the Sparkitt ban video, where I thought a lot of decks were going to just change Sparkitt out for this card in particular. So we are now playing 3 copies of Circle the Sky. I really like Circle the Sky in this deck. I was actually playing this card at 2 copies before Sparkitt got banned. I cannot speak today. I don't know what's going on. Circle the Sky, though, is really, really crazy, and I'll show you guys why. I'm actually going to move a lot of this stuff away real quick, and just so that I can quickly show you what exactly this can do. So if we have a Astrabbit, let's say we have an Astrabbit right here on the side of the field with a Thunder underneath it, right? We can cast Circle the Sky using the Spirit from the Astrabbit to go ahead and cast the Circle the Sky. We can go Circle the Sky to Nexus from like a Zeus that we have onto the Astrabbit, get a draw off the Circle the Sky, and then the Astrabbit, since it received an additional Zaptor, we are able to then activate the effect of the Astrabbit again. So that's very, very powerful. So just so you guys are aware, in this position, if the Astrabbit only has 1 under it and you activate the Circle the Sky using it, the Astrabbit will not get destroyed until the Circle the Sky is finished resolving. Once this card finishes resolving, then the Astrabbit gets destroyed. So if you put a Spirits onto the Astrabbit before you resolve the Circle the Sky, the Astrabbit stays in the field and gets its effect off. So that's why I think Circle the Sky is really, really nice in this deck. I was playing it before. As I said, I was playing this card in the deck before the ban came in. And I just think it's really, really nice. And I think, for the most part, these decks are just going to swap out their Sparkitts for Circle the Sky, because a lot of these decks were not playing Circle the Sky. I'm actually going to put these up here now. But I think it's really, really nice in this deck. It does a whole lot for the actual deck. I think it's really awesome. So that's why I'm personally running Circle the Sky. Next up, we're playing 2 copies of Ambrosia. I really only found space for 2 copies of this card. I think probably you could bump it up to 3 if you find something to drop. But I personally think 2 Ambrosia in this deck is fine. You don't really go through a whole lot of your spirits that fast. You can, depending on what you do. But I think Ambrosia just at 2 is fine. Just for some additional deck space for some other cards. And next up, we are playing 3 copies of Altar of Stars. Very, very powerful. In Thunder Nexus, obviously. It's just sort of another form of Circle the Sky. You can use the Altar of Stars, pay for it using an Astrabbit that you have in your side of the field, Nexus the 1 spirit that Altar of Stars has onto the Astrabbit, which allows you to then change the position of Elestral and then activate the Astrabbit once again. So basically, we have 6 different ways with which to Nexus in this deck, with the 3 Circle the Sky and the 3 Altar of Stars, and I think that's just totally fine. It does so much. Next up, we are playing 3 copies of Gorgon's Gaze. Really good counter rune in the game, obviously. It just does a lot. Is great great protection for your guys, and just it's an awesome card overall. 3 copies of Tsunami, same thing, just really nice card. Able to just swap everything to defense, which you really like your Elestrals being swapped to defense most of the time. So it's totally fine just having the Tsunami, having 3 Tsunami. I was playing 2, and then obviously the Sparkitt ban happens, and I was like, okay, let's put an extra copy of this card. Next up, 2 copies of Shield of Achilles and 1 copy of PTA, just to round out the deck. The reason why we're running this sort of counter rune lineup, I've seen a lot of decks that are running like 3-3-3-3-2. I think that is more so optimized. So if you want, you can absolutely do that. I just don't really think it's super necessary. And I'd rather fill out the remainder of my deck with like Platypulse or something like that. Just as an additional Elestral, since I'm already quite low in Elestrals. But that's it for the main deck. Let's get into the Spirit deck, which is a little bit interesting because as you saw from that, list, we are basically playing every single card in our deck is essentially Thunder. The only cards that are not are Lavalith and Tsunami. So, as a result, we are playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 copies of Zaptor. 15. I think this is very good. You can technically bump it up if you want to play like the correct Spirit Math. The correct Spirit Math would be actually 16 Zaptor. And then you would be running 2 copies of Leviathan and 2 copies of Vipyro. I'm running the 3rd Leviathan and the 2 copies of Vipyro. In addition to that, you could also technically, if you want, drop 2 Zaptor for an additional 2 copies of Vipyro if you want. Or if you just want to play 14 Zaptor, you could drop a Zaptor and a Leviathan to play the additional 2 copies of Vipyro. So you still get the 14 Zaptor, you get the 2 Leviathan for the Tsunami, and then the additional 2 Vipyro so you can activate both Lavaliths. I think just 2 Vipyro is totally fine, and I think this is basically the correct Spirit Math, which is 15, 3, and 2. Again, though, you could very easily run 13, 3, 4, or 14, 2, 4 if you really want to. You can sort of do whatever you want. And if you're wondering why I'm running the 3rd Leviathan, obviously we are running 3 Tsunamis, so this does end up working out, but typically we're not seeing all 3 Tsunamis in a single game, which is why a lot of people just run 2 Leviathan when they're running 3 Tsunami. But the reason why I'm running the 3rd Leviathan is just in case I see myself in a position where I can enchant one of my Elestrals with the water to prevent them from being affected by Tsunami. We already have a boatload of Zaptors in the deck. I don't really think... I think we could probably sacrifice 1 Zaptor. I think we can sacrifice a 16th Zaptor in order to put in an additional Leviathan. So that's sort of the decision that I ended up making. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Really hope you enjoyed, because this is sort of, in my opinion, what Thunder Nexus is going to look like in the distant future. I think a lot of decks are going to be running the Circle of Sky. We'll see if I'm wrong. I've been proven wrong before. I don't typically play this game that competitively. I'm mostly a very casual player, but I do a lot of times try to like build my decks to be more so competitively viable rather than just having like some bad cards put into the deck. But I really enjoy this deck. I think it's really cool, and I think with the Sparkitt ban, it still can do some fun stuff. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you did, make sure to stop, like, button, and subscribe for more. Hope to see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.